of the World Cup. Simon Delestre rides the very good championship horse for him, Dexter Fontenisse, earlier in the draw. We've got Al Raji then with Ventago. We've got Gerfried Puck, middle of the draw with last week's winner Equestrian Naxel. Santiago Lambre, the North American-based Brazilian rider, Brazilian Olympian, who's been a winner with us over the course of the 2 weeks. Last night's big class winner, Henrik von Eckermann and Glamour Girl. Rashid Touaim Ali Al-Mari, another Qatari Asian Games medalist. We've got Gadiano. We've got Evelina Tovek, the winner of the big class on day one of the show. We've got Asian Games champion Abdullah Al-Shabatli. And with Corelli de Mise, we have Edwina Tops-Alexander as last to go in the first round. All of those in equality of first place after that first round of jumping will come back for a jump off over the shortened track. But let's have a look at how the first round is looking here in the Longines Arena at Al Shakab for the 4-star Grand Prix for Doha Tour Week 2. He starts them going away from the in-gate on a slight bending line to a fence hard up against the fencing on that far side of the arena. Then coming down, this vertical has actually got a water tray underneath it in his final design, made after the 3D animation. And then they've got a turn back here. And again, riding your turns is so important on an Oriana Vetsani track. And he's got them turning back to a triple bar. So it's kind of isolated there. It's not super related to the other jumps, but they have to treat it with respect and come off it in good order to pick up the 1-stride, 2-stride triple combination line. Vertical, oxa, vertical. And those 2 verticals, especially the third one, absolutely every inch of meter 55. Big white oxa then, and again, another one of these sort of rollback feeling turns. So they come out of the corner and they really hope that they're coming up on the right spot, not only for the meter 55 Doha bank, but then the double which follows. And it's light rails there. Those are skinnier than some of the other rails on course, so they will just take a little bit less to have them down. Over the dows in the corner of the ring before a rollback turn to the state of Qatar jump with the maroon and white rails. Skinny maroon and white wall sort of feature with the white rails on top, and then around to the last at number 12. So a very, very interesting track. Uliano's first here in the region for the year. Peter Schumacher was our designer last weekend. As you can see, with athletes still in the ring, we are going to just pause the start of competition for about, and in fact, not about, exactly 5 minutes. So it'll actually be 5 minutes to the hour that we have the first horse and rider with us, the first of 20 in the 4-star meter 55 Grand Prix. There's last week's podium finisher, Edwina Tops-Alexander, former winner of the CHI Grand Prix here as well, wearing the armband of world number 1. Henrik von Eckermann just taking a last look at the course as well to see whether he could be victorious tonight with Glamour Girl. And his student Evelina Tovek with Mobeto van der Rooshoven also in good form, having been the winner of the feature class on day 1 of this week of the tour. This is our final week at 4-star here in Doha, Qatar this spring season. The Doha Tour, part of the instigation of a kind of an equestrian season here in January, February in this wonderful Longines Arena at Al Shakab. And part of a whole focus on developing world-class sporting events here in Qatar. You know, the Formula One now has a leg here of that series. The World Aquatics Championships coming up next month. And at the moment, we're running alongside the Asian Cup of soccer here in the country that, of course, held the most recent edition of the FIFA World Cup as well. But 4-star, as I say, will be done and dusted with after this Grand Prix, with 5-star for week 3 of the Doha Tour next week. And then when we come back for 3 weeks in February, it's the Emir's Sword at 5-star level here, Doha Tour week 4. And then it is the CHI week, bringing together 5-star show jumping here in the outdoor with 5-star dressage and Paralympic level para-equestrian dressage in the Longines indoor. And then also the following week, 5-star jumping again as Longines Global Champions Tour and Global Champions League makes its debut for the 2024 season. So just reminding ourselves of that starting order. We've got there's some real challenges as well. When you look at Jean Sadran, Jennifer Hochstad and Nadja Peter Steiner, combinations or riders who certainly proven themselves to be very, very fast this week. If we see any of them make it through into the jump off of this Grand Prix, we could easily have an exciting new winner of Grand Prix action on the Doha Tour, following in the footsteps of Gerfried Puk last weekend. But again, you know, some names that it's difficult to look beyond too, when you have the likes of Gaudiano, who's in great form here, Lambre, who's in very good form, Gerfried Puk, last week's winner. Henrik von Eckermann drops into the Tour with Glamour Girl and immediately picks up the biggest win of the week so far in last night's meter 50 jump-off class. But as Henrik was saying, it's not just about having Glamour Girl here to ride the 4-star. It's actually most important for him to have the opportunity to ride in a facility like this, at a show like this, the 2-star horses he has out in the region. I'd be interested to see whether he is proposing maybe to move some of those 2-star horses, having jumped them this week, perhaps up into the smaller classes as part of the 5-star in Doha Tour Week 3 next week. We've seen that you know, a couple of riders had 2-star horses last week, particular riders from the region, just sort of getting their season going. 2-star last week, jumping the meter 45, meter 40 and 45s in the 4-star here in week 2. And I think the riders have really appreciated the ability, one, for them to ride in both star levels, 2 and 4, over these 2 weeks, and also, you know, to have the opportunity to have a 2-star horse in week 1, that it could go 4-star in week 2, especially with the addition of that meter 40 level class each day on the 4-star tour in week 1 and 2. That's, I think, been very valuable and a real draw for people, and making people feel that, you know, the step up needn't be too dramatic for their horse. But one of the things you do get jumping here, you jump in this arena whatever time of day you jump. The 2-stars are daytime, the 4-stars are in the evening, and then you have all of this, the panoply of the Longines Arena at Al Shakab, the lights, the drama of this incredible architecture, and the cafe culture. I mean, even from Thursday, day 1 of the tour on week 1, we've had a very, very busy cafe structure alongside the ring. So as we just get ready for our first horse and rider coming to us, remind ourselves of the course set by Uliana Vetsani, with this Oxford vertical line going away from the in-gate 1 to 2 and coming down the ring. They'll pick up their first meter 55 fence with a water tray underneath it as well, in a final decision taken by Uliana Vetsani as he finalized his track. Triple bar here, as we said. Be interesting to see how it rides. It doesn't feel massively like it's related to either the vertical or to the triple combination, but it is important to get the turn right and come off the triple bar right, so that you do come into the triple combination question and then be able to pick up this right-hand turning line. Again, nothing is sort of a giveaway on an Uliana Vetsani track, and perhaps that turn and managing the internal related distance between the end of the triple and that oxer on the turning line could prove critical for somebody. This is straight though. The Doha bank is meter 55, straight down to this double, and then a left-handed line that should come up quite naturally for them to the Dows, and there's a water tray under that as well, right in front of the cafes. Here though, it's quite a tight turn back to the maroon, and there's solid maroon coloured in the colours of the Qatari flag there, rails on the top of that oxer, and then the related distance down to the skinny fence. It's kind of got a wall profile underneath, light rails on top, before then having to choose whether they'll go an inside line or an outside line to this black railed oxer over there in the side of the ring, going back towards the in-gate. Time allowed of 79 seconds, and we'll see whether that plays its influence as well here when we get underway in just a few moments' time.
Welcome into Longines Outdoor Arena at Al Shakab on day 3, week 2 of the Doha Tour 2024. The first competitor in the €200,000 CSI 4-star 1 meter 55 Longines rankings Grand Prix, representing France. She was on the podium in the previous class. Ines Jolie, she goes to the Self-Saver Caillou Penabin.
الفارسة الفرنسية إنس جولي وجواد كايوب دولابي لدولة فرنسا يفتتحان هذا الشوط شوطا جائزة كبرى تصنيف الرجوع ارتفاع متر و55 سنتيمتر. إنس أعطت قبل قليل مقصد التتويج بالمركز الثاني. الجائزة المالية 200,000 يورو.
So Ines, who was fourth last week with Pegasus Jataki in this Grand Prix, this week chooses another horse that jumped well for her last week in the four-star top tour. This is Calliope de l'Abbé. It's not, of course, very long since we saw Ines in second place on the podium in our meter 50 class tonight with Félin de Foncombe. And Calliope, just again a little bit uncomfortable in the jump over number 2, but Ines obviously just reassures the horse. They come down in very good order to the first meter 55 jump on course. They're at number 3, the Qatar Equestrian Federation, and now the triple combination. But what's going to be key here is that rideability, keeping the quality of the jump all the way down this line and through the turn, a slight turn here to the Oxer. And again, we suggested when we looked and analysed this course that that particular moment there from the C element of the triple combination to the Oxer could be key. Again, a blind turn as well as you come around. You're going to go through 270 degrees around your right shoulder, the meter 55 Doha bank. It goes down for Ines and Calliope. The vertical coming out of the double as well with those quite delicate wings alongside. The bigger and boxier a wing is on the fence, the more the horses sort of feel safe and comforted and directed to the rail. So you see a lot of these sort of lamp standards or chimneys or something like that that just make the wing that little bit more delicate and increase the difficulty of the fence. So it is Jolie, fourth last week, this week in round 1 it is 4 down. 16 jumping faults for Ines with Calliope de l'Abbé.
Irish Sport Courseware, Maxwin, Kinmar, Agnos. This was bred by Jordan Ireland.
So horse and rider pair that were individually fourth at last year's Asian Games in China. Janica Born Kuranayadaj for Thailand. Janica Born with Maxwin, Kinmar, Agulux. Just quite low and flat over that first jump. So and we saw there that, Maxwin Kinmar Agulux was absolutely hot to trot, and Janica Born sitting in, just trying to settle the horse as she made her preparation, just waiting to start running around to the first fence. But it looks like she's just got the horse back into her hand, exactly where she wants and needs them. But every time, the horse just will push through her hand. You saw it ever so slightly over the Oxer in the middle of the triple combination that just flattened out the jump. And every time that happens, they risk having a fence here at this meter 55 level. But, really active and effective riding here from Janica Born Kuranayadaj. Not only the Asian Games, but also ridden at the World Championships level for Thailand. And this is going to be clear round number 1 for sure, isn't it? Yes, it is. Just inside the time, 1.48 seconds. Now that's going to be of interest to the riders that follow as well, how the time comes up. Now Janica Born may not have been able to really just let the horse run very freely, might have been having to make adjustments all the way around. The other riders would feel that if their horse goes the way they would like it to go, they will find 79 seconds even more comfortable than that. Margin of 1.5 seconds there for Janica Born Kuranayadaj. But most importantly, it is clear for the rider from Thailand. Now, Janik Morn actually jumped clear, was eligible for the jump off last night in the meter 50 class, chose not to jump last night. And it seems like the tactic has worked out. Now they can come here and try and be as competitive as possible, albeit that they will be the first back for the jump off because they come in the order they qualify. So Rikke Belinda Barker, Rikke who joined a group of European raiders going over to the series of shows in Mexico over the course of last autumn and winter. Rikke with Tabalu PS. And just one place behind Ines Joly last week with this horse for 5th place in the Week 1 Grand Prix. Six in the jump off last week, including Rikke and Tabalu. Is she going to make it 2 Grand Prix jump offs in a row here on Doha Tour? Sails out long and low over that oxer, but there's enough time and space then before the plank top fence, meter 55 at the second last, to get back in order, and it's denied at the last moment. There you see the sort of time that the more experienced riders are going to feel is possible for them. Rikke was able to just keep Tabalu coming forward for her, coming all the way around, but unfortunately just the last down. And perhaps you could trace a little bit of this problem here that they had at the last, where they just weren't quite together to the way they jumped the one 3 from home. And that's the nature of these courses, that if you're out of shape somewhere, it might not catch you right then, but if you don't sit up and really correct out the error, it will get you somewhere with all the related distances. So Rikke Belinda Barker is on 4 faults, won't come back for the jump off. We'll see how valuable that ends up being as we go on to Khaled Al Mobdi, Jaguar King WD. We were talking earlier on about how Khaled is the current leader of the Middle East Sub-League of the FEI Jumping World Cup standings at the moment, and of course the World Cup finals coming to Saudi Arabia for the very first time, coming to the region for the very first time in April of this year. Khaled has been a World Cup finalist before and an Asian Games medalist for Saudi Arabia. Khaled, who picked up more points in the World Cup last week in Al Shira, and one of the cadre of riders who joined us for the first time here on Doha Tour for week 2. So through that line, and here again, not only have you got this blind turn that you hope you come out through your right shoulder on a good spot for the Doha bank, but you're performing it all with your horse maybe looking a little bit towards the in-gate, maybe looking a little bit towards the big screen as you make that long swing around. Just takes a little bit of an inside turn. I think he maybe felt that he's just going quite gently pace-wise, so he's going to use geography to his advantage here. 79 seconds the time allowed. He's made the right decision. He's just over a second inside, and Khaled Al Mobdi is clear round number 2, so we definitely have a jump-off finale to tonight's 4-star Grand Prix. It is Thailand versus Saudi Arabia at the moment.
Joining us now, French Olympian and World Ranked Top 7 rider Simon Delestre, in here after winning the World Cup Grand Prix in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia last one. He goes with the Irish gelding Dexter Fortunatus C.
Well, now the horse and rider pair that were actually runners-up in the CHI 5-star Grand Prix here last year at Al Shakab, Simon Delestre, World's top 10 rider, with Dexter Fontenis. The Grand Prix wasn't the happy hunting ground he had hoped for last weekend for Simon Delestre, French Olympian. Dexter jumped very well for a top 10 in the Aachen Grand Prix last summer in Germany. Dexter was also Simon's horse at the European Championships in Milan in Italy, and that was a competition run over Uliano Vezzani tracks too. Dexter, not the first horse that's just going to take a little bit of a look at the public there right alongside, but Simon able to get him focused in on the Oxer at the end of that line very, very well. This time is absolutely comfortable for the pair, and they are right through. Look at that, 7.87 seconds inside the time allowed for the first round. Not hanging around, putting down a marker perhaps, Simon Delestre and Dexter Fontenis. We'll see whether they are going to be victorious tonight. So Simon has been so often well placed here in this arena in the past in visits for the 5-star, the likes of the Commercial Bank CHI and the Longines Global Champions Tour meetings. Could he pick up a Grand Prix victory now on Doha Tour?
She goes with the AWPN Air Golden Lady, number 7 on her start.
So Jennifer Hochstetter and Golden Lady, another one who went very well last week. We've seen Ines Joly, who was 4th. We've seen Rika Barker, who was 5th. And now Jennifer Hochstetter and Golden Lady, who was 6th in last week's Grand Prix. I'll say again, that was by qualifying through to the jump-off. Again, if it all comes together for them as well, if they make it through to the jump-off and things go again and again, we look across her 2-star and 4-star results over these 2 weeks already on Doha Tour, and she is amongst our most successful riders. Actually, a little bit of an interesting link to Simon Delestre, who just had Jennifer Hochstetter was a former rider of Berlach Z, that was a horse for Simon Delestre to the top level as well. That's now with the Watchmans in Ireland. Oh! Now, this is not the first time, unfortunately, this has happened to Jennifer and Golden Lady. And it just came down there. Everything looked absolutely right. And then Golden Lady just uses something as a bit of an excuse to just throw in a stop. So with the 8 jumping faults, 4 for the refusal, 4 for the rail at the last, and 26 time, Jennifer Hochstetter and Golden Lady have a much more disappointing conclusion to their week than 7 days ago. Jennifer there with her Milan Europeans horse Golden Lady. So 3 clear rounds. Janneke Born, Kuranayadaj, Carla Dal Mobti, Simon Delestre. Is our next to go. Meshri with Cascadella Boy RM, horse and rider pair that were on the Saudi team at the Asian Games that won gold last summer in Hangzhou in China. Meshri Al Harbi, hoping to join teammate Khaled Al Mobti in the jump off to come for this 4-star Grand Prix. And riding the number 1 in his stable, his championship horse from last summer. And just getting this horse going a little bit as well through the tour. Actually ran 2-star last week, ended up top 10 in the 2-star Grand Prix. Stepping up then this week for the first time to 4-star during the tour. And I would expect, having seen this pair jump at the 5-star level last summer, that they will be looking to contest the 5-star tour with us here next week on Doha Tour 3. And will they be going forward as a jump-off finalist from this 4-star Grand Prix? 1 fence to go. Remember, Ricker Belinda Barker was clear to this point, and it is the same story for Meshri Al Harbi and Cascadella Boy RM. The front rail off the last denies him a place in the jump-off. He's slower overall than Ricker Belinda Barker, so that will go 5th on the ranking, with Ricker retaining 4th, and our 3 clear rounds coming back for the jump-off as things are.
Well, we saw this lady on the podium in the previous class today, representing France. She goes to the South Francais, unforgettable, downhill, number 9.
Well, looking for a big result here in week 2, Jean Sadran and Unforgettable Danville, but they were on the podium together on our top tour in week 1. Jean, one of the top under-25 riders in the world, in the top 10 of that particular ranking. I think the majority of those top 25 or so under-25 riders in the world have been earmarked once again for Global Champions League teams. Every Global Champions League team in that series needs an under-25 rider, so they are quite hot property. And again and again, like Jean Sadran for the Shanghai Swans in recent seasons, proving their worth, really delivering the results on which their teams have counted. From this line to the Doha bank, down to the double. And Jean Sadran and Unforgettable Danville, as I say, they will be having a relatively forgettable week 2 until this moment, if they do qualify through to the jump off of this 4-star Grand Prix. Time is no problem at all, and Jean Sadran is clear with Unforgettable Danville, and that is clear round number 4. The time a little academic because, as I say, they do come back in the order in which they qualify. So we've got 4 coming back to us now: Thailand, Saudi Arabia, and 2 for France, with Simon Delestre and Jean Sadran both on the starting list.
So I got France a strong hand in the jump off in this 200,000 euro CSI4 Grand Prix. They have 2 going through along with riders from Saudi Arabia and Thailand. Joining us now is former Australian senior Australian national champion Amber Fuller. She goes with Nupal Bhattacharya on the other as a winner of the Sydney World Cup with meter 60 Grand Prix last month.
Amber Fuller for Australia now, the competitor who we see jump with us last week, top 10 with Nopal Van Talet in our Grand Prix during Doha Tour Week 1. Nopal and Amber were winners of the Sydney World Cup qualifier down in New South Wales, and of course all those worldwide rankings coming together to set the starting order for the World Cup finals to come. Amber Fuller 4th in the standings of the Australian League. But of course then it's about willingness and ability to travel, having qualified through the shows down there in Australia, New Zealand, then to be up and available to take up a place for the league. So whilst she may have finished 4th, she may still be the Australian League rider at those forthcoming FEI Jumping World Cup finals. Those places will all be confirmed over the next few weeks, ready for April. And Amber Fuller is going forward into the jump off here tonight. That is the next thing on her horizon. Nopa Van Tallet missed out on the jump off last week, but they were close in for an eventual top 10 out of their first round performance. This week they are through to the jump off, but we are already up to 5 starters. We had 6 in all in the jump off last week. We are only just over halfway through the first round, and we have 5 qualified so far here.
Joining us now for Switzerland, it's Nadja Peter-Steiner. She goes with WPN Jappelou.
نجا بيتر ستاينر جابلو بعض الاتمنى ممثلا لدولة سويسرا.
Nadja Peter-Steiner and Jappelou. Calvaro Heartbreaker, the breeding on this particular Jappelou. Nadja, who's been a class winner with us over the course of the tour so far. Been a very successful World Cup rider actually for Switzerland, picking up some useful results on the Central European and the World Cup legs that have been held during the Morocco Royal Tour over previous seasons. And we were just talking earlier on about how it felt like the C element to the Oxa was probably the most difficult in this area of the course. We see the C element go down for the first time, but we have had a couple of problems at the Oxa. At number 6, the Nadja Peter-Steiner will sit out the Grand Prix jump off again with a minimum of 4 faults as they come around to the final line, and I think we've seen faults at every fence between here and home. 79 seconds time allowed. The fastest 4-faulter is Rikke Barker in 74 seconds. This is a touch slower, 75.70. It actually goes into 8th position. Rikke Barker for Denmark in 6th. Meshri El Harbi for Saudi Arabia 7th. And the 4-fault round of Nadja Peter-Steiner and Jappelou for Switzerland goes into 8th.
Number 12, next go, showing the winner of the previous CSI4 star class here at the Dr. Abdul Rahman Al-Raji, member of the Golden Winnings team and the Asian Games. He goes with Heather Gelding and Van Tag.
Well, hoping to follow in the footsteps of Gerfried Puk, winning the Meter 50 and then the Grand Prix back-to-back on Saturday during Doha Tour 1. We welcome forward our Meter 50 winning rider this week, Abdul Rahman Al-Raji. Abdul Rahman with Ventago. Ventago started the week jumping in the Meter 45 class, 3rd in that class, behind the 2 Italian riders, Gaudiano and Previtali. And here is Ventago then by the end of the week, jumping in the Meter 55 Grand Prix. And again, that placing, the choosing of the class is quite interesting. And probably from Abdul Rahman Al-Raji's point of view, in an ordinary week, he might have, if he'd been riding this horse last week, he would have started with the Meter 50 on day 1. He started the Meter 45 this week because he was away from here last week, jumping in Al Shirah in the United Arab Emirates in the World Cup qualifier series there. So again, useful program and schedule of classes for the riders. You see how tight a turn he takes there, back from 9 to 10, having had the rail coming out of the blue and white double. These riders are so conscious of what needs to be their plan A, B and C. Takes a big risk to the last. It pays off a little bit because that is going to be the fastest 4-faulter by about 2.5 seconds. Abdul Rahman Al-Raji and Ventago go into 6th, making the best of having that rail down to try and stay in the mix here in this Longines World Ranking Jump Off Grand Prix.
This is the man who won the 200,000 euros CSI4 star Grand Prix last week on week 1 of the Doha Tour. It's Austria's Gerfried Puk.
So the defending champion. For how much longer, we will find out in just a minute or two's time. Grand Prix champion of Doha Tour. Axel jumping all of the big classes with Gerfried over the past couple of seasons. Those major Nations Cups for Austria, including the bronze medal winning team performance at the Europeans in Milan last summer. Major World Cup qualifiers in Europe as well, most recently in action at Mechelen in Belgium between Christmas and New Year. And Gerfried has the opportunity to be in a good position in the draw here, because if he's clear, he will be the 6th to go in the jump-off. A couple of big names still to come who we would expect to qualify, but, you know, still feels like a Grand Prix that's probably going to break down into a jump-off size of single figures. So 5 at the moment, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wouldn't have said we were maybe going to have 10 in the jump-off. But the only number that matters to Gerfried Puch is that number 6, because he wants to be clear around number 6. He wants to come back for the jump-off. And Gerfried Puch and Equestrian Axel will be back. The Week 1 champion could still be the Week 2 champion here. Gerfried Puch and Equestrian Axel qualified through to the jump-off here, having bested Peter Schumacher's track and the field of competitors last week. Now he is already clear over round 1 of Uliana Vezzani's final test of Doha Tour Week 2.
Joining us now, a man who has represented Brazil at the World Equestrian Games, the Pan American Games and the Olympic Games in Santiago Labri. He goes with Zeus.
Alors, vi till Brazil, Santiago Labri, with Zeus.
So he does have one of his very, very top horses here in Chaco Blue, but electing to ride this horse that went very well during the Meter 50 Tour in Week 1. This is Zeus and Santiago Lambre. Santiago, an Olympian for Brazil. As I say, normally on the North American circuit, it's interesting and quite exciting to have him here with us, jumping in the region across these first 3 weeks of the Doha Tour. Jumped quite boldly into the triple combination, so finds himself having to hold down to the oxer there on the final part of that long, complicated line. Yeah, it's quite an intense period of the course as well. You know, 3, 4, 5 ABC, 6. You know, they all come up at you quite quickly. Then you have to use that long turn 6 to 7 as your bit of a breather in this course. One to go for Santiago Lambre to join the party of the jump-off to come. And he's there. Zeus and Santiago Lambre are our latest clear round. It's clear round number 7. And it's another big class winner over the course of the Doha Tour so far, Santiago Lambre, who makes it through. His winning performance coming during Week 1 at the 4-star Tour with Chaco Blue, and a winner also during Week 2.
As we welcome into the Longines outdoor arena, great to have him here on Week 2 of the Doha Tour. Is the world's #1 rider and the reigning world champion, Henrik von Ekman from Sweden. He goes with the KWKN mare, Glamour Girl.
البطل العالمي هنريك فان إكرمان هو الجولة Glamour Girl.
So from the rider who was the runner-up in last night's meter 50, we go to the horse and rider combination that took victory in that meter 50 jump-off class. The biggest competition up to now in Doha Tour Week 2. It was world number 1, Henrik von Eckermann. So from Henrik's perspective, he's got the perfect horse under him for a 4-star week of meter 50, meter 55 jumping. With Glamour Girl being very successful in these classes, has been a winner for Henrik when he's come here before for the likes of the CHI and for the global champions. And say in some of those table A speed classes that make up the legs of the Global Champions League, he's won and been placed a couple of times with Glamour Girl in the individual ranking of those, including winning the competition outright in Riesenbeck in Germany in midsummer. So Glamour Girl, Henrik von Eckermann. Not to take this first round for granted either. You know, there's a decent amount of jumping out there. We've seen, you know, some good horses come a touch unstuck. But if we get Gerfried Puck, Santiago Lambre, Simon Deleste already in the jump-off with Henrik von Eckermann up against them, and who's to say we won't maybe get Emanuela Gaudiano in there too, Edwina Tops-Alexander. But Henrik von Eckermann is comfortably done. He is clear, and that is clear round number 8 in this 4-star meter 55 Grand Prix, and a horse in flying form and a rider who has been in incredible form now for I think it's 18 months as world number 1, and of course you're building up to being world number 1 for the first time over the preceding 12 months. So that talks to you about, you know, kind of the last nearly 3 years of form from Henrik von Eckermann for Sweden.
Joining us now for the domination Qatar is Rashid Ali Al-Mari. He goes to the Australian mare Concordance and Ortega, member of the silver medal winning team at the Asian Games in China. Also a dual rider who's represented Qatar and endurance competition.
Rashid Touaim Ali Al-Mari next to go. Rashid with Concordance. Concordance was Rashid's ride for the Asian Games last summer in China. Unfortunately, just having the meter 55 water tray vertical down for the pair that were in the top 5 in World Cup action back in December in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Stops out of the middle of the triple combination. So Rashid Touaim Ali Al-Mari, the clock keeps ticking. 8 faults on the card thus far. And just watching what he's doing while you have the replay on the screen, looks like he's just cantering across the ring. He maybe is just going to jump number 2 on his way out and indicate that he retires. And that is indeed what happened. So Rashid Touaim Ali Al-Mari and Concordance retire on course in the initial round of our 4-star Grand Prix for Doha Tour 2.
Joining us now is Titania Olympian and Emanuela Gaudiano and Targo Blue.
Leaves us with 4 remaining in this Grand Prix night in the first round. 4 winners, for instance, all have won Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix. Emanuela Gaudiano, Evelina Tovek, Abdullah Al-Shabatli and Edwina Tops-Alexander. So here's the first of those 4. Gaudiano, the 2-time Italian Olympian with Contargo Blue. Contargo Blue actually also started in the meter 45 this week, having been a winner at meter 50 last week. Gaudiano, interesting the way he steps the horses up and down through the levels during a tour like this. wasn't able to feature on the final day in the Grand Prix last weekend. Really, really keen to get a clear round, and of course, because of the way the competition is set up, if he is clear, if any of our riders are clear now, they are about as late as it is possible to be in the jump off to come. Gaudiano, who's twice been podium in the 5-star jumping Grand Prix during the CHI week here at Al Shakab, is the third at least to be agonizingly close to a clear round in the first round and have the front rail off the last off that slight turn. Right angle through the right shoulder up from the sort of the skinny wall fence, the meter 55 plank down in the corner of the ring. The black rail off the last for Contago Blue, and Emanuele Gaudiano is 4/4, and he wasn't travelling super fast, 73.60. So he goes into 10th. Abdulrahman Al Raji and Ventago remain our fastest 4/4. They are in 9th. The winners of the biggest class on day one of the show, Mobito van der Roshover and Evelina Tovek. If they can replicate the smoothness of that round from the meter 50 here on Thursday, they should be rewarded with a clear, because they would deserve it. Again, you talk about experience with Oriana Vezzani's tracks. The Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix that Evelina won was in Rome, designed by Uliano, at the original home of the Rome Longines Global Champions meeting before it moved to the Circus Maximus a couple of seasons ago. Six Strides comes up there well. Of course, Henrik von Eckermann, Glamour Girl. Evelina's coach, Henrik, already qualified through to the jump off. And isn't it the way, you know, you get fences that haven't gone the whole class, suddenly when the pressure is on towards the end, you find errors coming in new places of the course. And again, to go back and analyse it, it's somewhat always to do with the quality of the turn, you know, where the turn brought you back into the meter 55 Doha bank. 69.86 on the clock with the 4/4 there. Evelina Tovek is comfortably faster than Abdulrahman Al Raji, our previous fastest 4/4 to Evelina, and Mobito really do move very fast for all that they look smooth and well within themselves. So fastest 4/4, 2 seconds faster than Al Raji, and into 9th for Evelina Tovek and Mobito van der Roshover.
Join now with an combination of the opening round of €200,000 CSI4 Star Grand Prix of the Doha Tour 2024. Individual gold medalist and team gold medalist at the Asian Games, Abdullah Al-Shalabi. He goes to the South Francais and Toum des Baptistes.
World Championship medalist, Olympic medalist, Asian Games medalist now, including the individual title at last summer's Asian Games. Abdullah Al-Shabatli, Abdullah with Toum des Baptistes. Abdullah, part of the Saudi team that won the Olympic Qualifier Nations Cup competition held here at this venue last February, securing one of the 2 regional Olympic qualification spots, the other going to the United Arab Emirates. Still on the 0 score. This is the turn that maybe counted against Evelina Tovek a few moments ago. The Doha bank, meter 55, came up okay for her, but then Mobito just found this distance wasn't quite right off their approach to the fence before. Still in good order though. Abdullah Shabatli, as we said earlier on, Abdullah once he had a couple of problems with his horse in the meter 50, he elected to retire on course just for his own personal feel. And there again, I was just going to say, because he is riding having recently recovered from having a broken collarbone, but what that means is that, you know, he doesn't necessarily maybe have all the strength in the arms that he would normally have, and Atome de Zetis just takes, maybe feels a touch of weakness and takes a little bit of an opportunity there. And having come down to the fence again, unfortunately Atome de Zetis is able to get away from Abdullah one more time, and thus it is 2 disobediences and it is elimination for the Saudi Olympian.
Our final competitor in the opening round of the Grand Prix joins us now, representing Australia. 3-time Olympian Australians was decorated female equestrian is Edwina Thompson-Alexander. She goes with Corelli Dominic.
يصير إذا الأخير فارس معنا إذا في الشوط قبل جولة التميز إدوين تومس ألكسندر ممثلة لدولة أستراليا مع جولة كورلي ديفيس.
So the last pair to go then in this initial round of jumping from the podium last weekend, Edwina Thompson-Alexander with Corelli Demise. They were third here 7 days ago. Australian Olympian, World Cup finalist, World Championship rider. Edwina has won 8 legs of the Longines Global Champions Tour Series in her career, including last summer in Madrid, and was the first ever winner of the Super Grand Prix in Prague. On that series, Corelli Demise quite far off the middle element of the triple combination. Edwina keeps riding, keeps fighting. And again, it just uses the time and space. You know, that's the mark of an experienced rider. Other riders have been caught out by that distance, and they weren't anything like as off the middle part of the triple combination as Edwina ended up being. But she made it happen down to the Oxer. Unfortunately, having fought so hard for her clear round, she ends up having the rail, the same rail that we saw go for Evelina Tovek there at the blue and white double just below the main building. So it is going to be 8 for the jump off. And Evelina Tovek will finish inside the top 10. 9th, Abdul Rahman Al Raji will be 10th. With a time of 75.65 for Edwina Thompson-Alexander with 4 faults, going to put them into 14th position. Yeah, just you see Corelli here when you look alongside, just slightly unfolded again in front and tapped back down onto the rail there. So a little bit of a change from last week when Edwina Thompson-Alexander was on the podium, but another of our podium riders, Geoffrey Pook, will be back with Naxel. He is 6th of the 8 qualifiers for the jump off to come. As I say, behind those 8, 9th will go to Evelina Tovek and Mobito. Abdul Rahman Al Raji will take 10th place in this Longines World Ranking Meter 55 4-star Grand Prix. But the riders coming back to us are going to be Thailand's Janakibon Kuranayadaj with Maxwin Kinma Agalux, Khalid Al Mobti for Saudi Arabia and Jaguar King, Simon Deleste, Dexter Fontanis, Jean Sadran, Unforgettable Danville. 5th to jump then will be Amber Fuller and her World Cup qualifier winner Nopal Van Talat. Geoffrey Pook and his championship horse Equestrian Naxel, looking to defend their Grand Prix victory from 7 days ago, will be followed by Brazilian Olympian Santiago Lambre and Zeus, and Henrik von Eckermann and Glamour Girl have the driving seat perhaps of the Grand Prix jump-off starting order, coming 8th of 8, knowing exactly what they have to do to try and be victorious. Not much over 5 minutes remaining before we have our first in the ring here to conclude the Week 2 Doha Tour 4-star Grand Prix. Stay with us.
وجوفريت فوق وأوستريا جوفريت فوق صاحب الجائزة الكبرى في أولى الجولات أخذ بوزير الإمارات 20 هو يعود مرة أخرى في أثر الأشواق مع جولة التمايز. لدينا البرازيل مع سانتياغو وزوس، والسويد مع هنريك مع إيكرمان البطل العالمي مع جواد لابوركر.
So welcome back to Doha Tour Week 2. Let's have a look at the jump-off course laid out by Uliana Vetsani for our competitors here tonight. So we're going to start out over number 1 as was, and then cut across the ring to a new fence in the colours of the Al Abdulghani Motors Company. Before then it is back to number 5, so it is 5B, the middle part of the triple combination. And then on the same distance as before, without the C element getting in the way, to number 6, that vertical oxer. We'll see how that rides. This tight turn that we've had before, 6 to 7, comes into play again, and both parts of the double, 8A, 8B, the double that caught out Evelina Tovek and Edwina Tops-Alexander there at the end of the competition. Then a slight left-hand turning line. It is not down to the Dow as it was. It is a different turn, so it is new ground for them to try and manage their distance on over to the Qatari flag colours State of Qatar fence here in the corner. It's actually just there. If you look up the line on the right-hand side of your screen, looking up towards the Longines signage in the middle on the far side, you can just see the maroon bases and the white tops side on to us. That is the last fence on the jump off, coming from the blue and white there with the white chimneys as the wings. So everything looks like it is in place. We have about a minute left on the countdown to the start of jump off competition, with the first of 8 getting ready in that warm-up. And we've got competitors for Thailand, Saudi Arabia, France, Australia, Austria, Brazil, and Sweden all coming forward. France, the only country with 2 in the jump off. And 2 pretty good chances as well between Simon Delestre, Dexter Fontanis and Jean Sagran. Unforgettable Danville. Yeah, great result coming up to the Northern Hemisphere for World Cup winning combination Amber Fuller and Nopal Van Talat, recent winners of the Sydney leg of the World Cup Series. Janica Born-Kuranayadaj and Maxwin Kinmar Agalux jumped very well. They qualified for the jump off last night in the metre 50 jump off. Tonight's metre 55 class, they're qualified once again. They in fact gave us our first clear round over Uliana Vetsali's track. So really exciting to see who is going to be the 4-star Grand Prix winner this weekend. Not to overlook last week's 4-star Grand Prix winner, Geoffrey Pook and Equestrian Naxel, who we will see 6th of the 8 who are starting. So here we go, our first is with us. The course starts exactly where it did before with number 1, and then it starts to break new ground. Janica Born-Kuranayadaj and Maxwin Kinmar Agalux will be the pair that show us the way around. Can they be double clear here in their first Grand Prix start at the top tour of Doha International Equestrian Tour action for 2024?
التميز على ارتفاع 155 سنتيمتر أكاديمية قدرها 100,000 يورو.
So picking up a head of steam, going to swing right around the far end of this ring. Janica Born-Kuranayadaj, 4th at the Asian Games with this horse. All to play for here. Seems to have a good spot here back to the Oxer that was the middle part of the triple combination. Oh, catches the front rail of that Oxer behind, but it rolls back into place. Good enough turn back by the looks of things to the Doha bank. And now just a little bit tighter through the left shoulder. They're not going down to the boats as they were before. They're coming here to this State of Qatar fence. It is double clear for the Thai rider, Janica Born-Kuranayadaj. And now it is for everyone else to try and beat her. 37.29. So he wasn't part of the Saudi team at the most recent Asian Games, and he wants to make sure that he is back right in the mix coming up to Versailles in Paris this summer for the Olympics. Going the right way about it as the current leader of the Middle Eastern League of World Cup Jumping, Khalid Al-Mobti. Khalid and Jaguar King at WD. Khalid gave us this jump off by being clear round number 2 of this 4-star Grand Prix here in Doha. You see him jumping on the angle across number 1 to get him down to the Al Abdul Ghani motors. And when you take that tight turn, you can see there how the pace came off the horse a little bit, trying to be super tight back to the Oxer, and that's where you've got to find the balance in these rollback turns. You've got to be able to try and keep your pace up whilst going around the smallest diameter. So we can see that Khalid is a little bit down on the clock against Janica Born-Kuranayadaj. 37.29 to beat. He's not going to be a million miles behind, but it is behind. 1.07 seconds. Khalid Al Mobti goes into second place here for Saudi Arabia. With two Asian Equestrian Federation riders leading the way at the moment.
Joining us now, the third combination.
So Simon Delestre, Dexter Fontenisse, last spring on the podium in the CHI Grand Prix here at the Longines Arena Al Shakab. It'd be great to have a rider like Simon as a standard bearer for the Doha Tour. One of the world's top 10 riders, a former world number one. And look at this, going right up behind the decoration in front of the big screen because he wants to make the approach off that rein to then change through the air over number one. So instead of knifing down at that fence the way Al Mobti did, Simon tries to create the turn in the air, which is kind of a natural thing for the horses to do as well, to change balance and direction as they turn. Look at this tight turn from the very experienced Dexter Fontenisse. 1.25 seconds up at our time check. Is Janikaborn Kuranayadage's time as leader of this four-star Grand Prix over? Simon Delestre comes home, sees a lovely spot at the last, 33.72. He's 3.5 seconds up. And that is the sort of result that Simon has been waiting for in the biggest classes over the course of these 2 weeks. Didn't feature in the jump-off last week for the Grand Prix, but this week, Dexter Fontenisse and Simon Delestre suddenly become the ones to beat. So who else is going to go up, right up behind that ornamental lake on their approach?
Joins us now. This is Jean-François. She goes to the self-français, unforgettable Dambo. The rider was on the podium in the previous class. Clear 33.72 is then by Simon Delestre as the target.
So just missed out on the jump-off last week, but did end up top 10 in the Grand Prix. This week they're in the jump-off, so top 8 is guaranteed. But how high will they land? 1.9 seconds down on countryman Simon Delestre's split time. And so far, everyone in the jump-off has delivered a double clear. So Jean Sedran needs to hustle a little bit to not be left down the order. Clear of the last, looking across the clock, 37.31. It is a shade behind Janikaborn Kuranayadage and therefore goes into third. Jean Sedran, Unforgettable Danville in third so far, 37.31. 200ths for the record, slower than the rider from Thailand.
For Kuranayadage from Thailand, so she's lost into third place at the moment for France.
Well, this next pair finished with just one place behind Jean Sedran last weekend inside that Grand Prix top 10. And again, this week, it is for sure better because they're qualified for the Grand Prix jump-off. Amber Fuller and Nopal Van Talat. Doesn't look to be putting a huge amount of angle on any of these jumps, not looking for the tightest inside turn, and you see Nopal Van Talat still just a little bit hesitant at that oxer in the middle of the ring. So Amber, I think, just using this as quite an educational round, looking to get the double clear for sure and make sure that she's got the scope, the talent and the preparation and training under her belt for the meter 55 jumping, but not looking to try and break any records and take on the real speed demons. But double clear here in a meter 55 four-star Grand Prix. Amber will be pleased enough with that. I would say that was very much the plan, looking at the way she went. World Cup qualifier winners before they then set off for the Northern Hemisphere down in Sydney in New South Wales. I say we are expecting to see Amber and Nopal Van Talat in action at the forthcoming World Cup finals of our sport. here in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia in April. So 33.72 is the time to beat, set by Simon Delestre and Dexter Fontenis. As we go to last week's winning combination, Gerfried Puch, Equestrian Naxel. Last week's winning margin just over half a second between Gerfried and Jamie Cairmont. But has Naxel got the pace to take on a horse and rider of the quality and calibre of Simon Delestre and Dexter Fontenis? Jumped really big and positive over the Al Abghani fence, but what that meant was that Gerfried really had to bring the horse right back to try and get the turn. Half a second up though, still on the time. Now, Simon Delestre made a big leap in terms of pace in this latter sector of the course. Gerfried Puch really needs to stay on the offensive. 33.72 to beat. He's not there, I don't think. No, Gerfried Puch 1 second exactly slower, goes second best. Equestrian Naxel. There are two more riders to come. Gerfried Puch has to wait and see whether it will be winner week 1, second week 2, or whether he will be overtaken by the riders yet to come. And it is very, very possible that anyone on our leaderboard at the moment could be overtaken by the riders yet to come, with Santiago Lambre and Henrik von Eckermann being our final two riders. But Gerfried Puch and Equestrian Naxel, you can't take too much away from them. Two very, very strong weeks of Grand Prix jumping from that pair. A win last week in an incredibly competitive double clear time in week 2, worth second place at the moment. Santiago Lambre. So often at Pan American Games, right, the Al Abdul Ghani goes. So Santiago Lambre is the first rider, in fact, overall, to have faults in this jump-off. You see, even pulling up, he's only 1.8 seconds slower than Delestre. But do remember that Delestre was not far ahead at the time check in comparison to Janakapon from Thailand. He really made the difference in the final sector of the course. So 4 seconds down by the time he gets there, Santiago Lambre. And of course he won't be trying too hard, knowing that he has already been bested as soon as he had the rail by the 6 riders who've already gone and jumped double clear. So into 7th of 7 we've seen in the jump off so far. Santiago Lambre and Zeus for Brazil, leaving us with just one rider remaining, and the one you would maybe have had a little friendly wager on as your potential winner of the Grand Prix, hitting the tour running with a victory last night's meter 50 jump off class, Henrik von Eckermann and Glamour Girl. And as he says himself, a horse ideally suited to success in this schedule and program that we have here at the Doha Tour in week 2. He joins us now in the ring, the reigning Longines FEI World number 1, the World Champion Rider of the Sport, the World Cup Champion Rider of the Sport, member of the Swedish team that have won in recent times Olympic gold, European gold and World Championship gold. Henrik von Eckermann, Glamour Girl for Sweden, with 33.72 to beat. Current world number 1 Henrik challenges former world number 1 Simon Delestre. And the two highest ranked riders at the show are in the duel here. Simon Delestre inside the world's top 10 himself. But just look at their ability to get around that turn. This is going to blitz the first split time. Yeah, 1.3 seconds. And the pace is going to keep up. That's maybe not as good a turn as he had going back to the Oxer from the middle of the triple, but now I think he can really open up the taps down to the last. This is all for Henrik von Eckermann and Glamour Girl to lose. Look at it, 33.72. He is less than 1 second up, but it really doesn't matter what the margin is. The importance is that that number is in the green, and look at the smile from ear to ear from Swedish Olympian and world number one, Henrik von Eckermann and Glamour Girl, victorious here in the 4-star Grand Prix in his first week with us on the Doha Tour. Well, what a jump-off round, what a jump-off overall to conclude our night here, our week here in week 2, and of course week 3 coming up when it gets bigger and better as we move up to the 5-star level of the sport and decide who is going to be our first 5-star champion in Doha this year, with 3 5-star shows coming up then in February. We'll conclude the Doha Tour with the Emir's Sword in mid-February, followed by the CHI week, and then we will round off with the Longines Global Champions Tour opening meeting. And Henrik von Eckermann, Glamour Girl, putting themselves in good shape. And as we've kind of mentioned, Henrik von Eckermann is riding Glamour Girl here in the 4-star, but his real intention here was to come with his 2-star horses. He's been very successful with them. We'll see Simon Deleste and Gerfried Puch back on the podium as well. Gerfried, last week's winner, takes 3rd tonight. Full results coming up and the ceremony. And don't forget to join us next Thursday, Friday and Saturday for 5-star Doha International Equestrian Tour Week 3.
Preparations made in the Longines outdoor arena for the qualifying ceremony for the 200,000 euro CSI 4-star Grand Prix, the highlight of the second week of the Doha Tour 2024, and that will be getting underway very shortly. We will have our top 3 coming into the arena. Henrik von Eckermann, the world number 1, the world number 7, Simon Deleste from France, and of course the European team, bronze medalist and winner of the CSI 4-star Grand Prix, Gerfried Puch for Austria. They will all be coming into the arena. So to applaud the excellence of the top class athletes here at Doha. And that prize will be certainly coming shortly in the Longines Outdoor Arena.
Me too. Sometimes I'm pressing, massaging something. I'm all days I'm working. Too much work. Yeah. I finish my room, just open hot water, and I then 10 minutes
I put something on my like don't know what you know, like you put like a bandage or something.
Yeah, when
Like
I
to keep the it's hot.
not
Like
I think just little bit salt and hot water is done.
I go like just for one time in my life a sport massage. It's different than the normal massage because it's like destroying. So it takes time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as our colleague mentioned, we have an incredible week coming up next week as well, so we can do the January section of the Doha Tour with week 3. Do check out Q Tickets for the opportunity to come and join us here at the launch arena at Al Shakar for the Qatar Equestrian Federation Doha International Equestrian Tour, week 3, as we step up to 5-star level, coming up Thursday, Friday and Saturday next week.
حضورنا الكريم لا تنسوا تنضموا إلينا الأسبوع القادم آخر أسابيع جولة الدوحة الدولية للكروسية 2024 حيث تصل التنافس والتحدي على درجته مع أشواط الخامسة بين الفرسان والفارسات المتميزين والمتميزات من قطر وخارجها. نسعد دائما بتواجدكم معنا، أنتم جزء لا يتجزأ من نجاح هكذا حدث.
In the interim, thank you for staying with us tonight as we prepare to recognise the top 3 for what has been an incredible night's sport. You really are one of the most amazing audiences for our sport in the region. We thank you for your support of coming out here night after night right through Doha Tour.
باختبار مراسم تتويج أبطال 83 وأبطال آخر الأشواط شوط الجائزة الكبرى جائزة المالية ب200,000 يورو. تحدوا كذلك تنافسوا أبدعوا وأبدعوا وسيعود منصة التتويج خلال اللحظات.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome now to the prize-giving ceremony for the Doha Tour Week 2 4-Star Grand Prix.
إذن حضورنا الكريم هنا مراسم تتويج أبطال الجائزة الكبرى تصنيف الأربع نجوم.
The Doha Tour is designed to initiate an equestrian season in January and February in the region with these incredible weeks of sport, part of an emphasis on Doha as a capital of sport, with mega events like the FIFA World Cup and Formula One and the forthcoming World Aquatics Championships alongside these prestigious equestrian events.
ها هي حكاية جديدة تضاف لعالم الفروسية عبر بوابة جولات الدوحة الدولية تحت مظلة الاتحاد القطري للفروسية بدعم اللجنة الأولمبية القطرية على ميدان لونجين بالشغب، والتي تحظى بالرعاية الرسمية من بنك الدوحة وآل عبد الغني موتورز كشريك النقل الرسمي. عيون العالم في قطر بكثير من الفضول والشغف.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as our ceremony gets going, we invite in three incredible athletes and their three incredible horses, our prize winners joining us now.
الآن على أرضية الميدان الأبطال أصحاب المراكز الثلاثة الأولى في الشوط الجائزة الكبرى 200,000 يورو. يقوم بتتويج أصحاب المراكز الثلاثة الأولى السيد حمد بن عبد الرحمن العطية رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي للفروسية.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great honor to be joined by Hamid Abdulrahman Al Attiyah, the president of the Asian Equestrian Federation, for tonight's awards ceremony. Well, our three riders are with us. It is time to put them on the podium. First of all, will you welcome forward the winner of last week's Grand Prix, the championship medalist for Austria, third once again tonight with his championship horse, Equestrian Naxel, Gefried Puk.
المركز الثالث لجوفريد بوك وأستريا، هو من تحصل على لقب الجائزة الكبرى الأسبوع الفائت.
The president of the Asian Equestrian Federation making the awards so close to actually having some of his Asian riders on our podium tonight, with Saudi and Thailand being represented in the jump-off. Well, we'll move on now to the presentation of second place, and Dexter Fontenisse and this rider have been on the podium here during CHI week at Al Shakab before. Ladies and gentlemen, second tonight, French Olympian Simon Delestre.
المركز الثاني لفرنسا عبر فارسها سيمون ديليستر.
With the winner of the Doha Tour Week 2 Grand Prix is the Longines FEI World #1, World Champion, World Cup Champion of our sport, with Glamour Girl, Sweden's Henrik von Eckermann.
المركز الأول وبطل الجائزة الكبرى هنريك فان إيكرمان وجلامور جيرل للسويد. أمامنا هنا البطل العالمي المصنف الأول على العالم.
Our presentation party just taking up their positions, ready for the group photo that will immortalize this Doha Tour Week 2 ceremony podium.
الآن صورة تذكارية جماعية مع أبطال الجائزة الكبرى لثانية جولات الدوحة الدولية للفروسية 2024 مع السيد حمد بن عبد الرحمن العطية رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي للفروسية والشيخ أحمد بن نوح رئيس اللجنة العليا المنظمة.
And we conclude our ceremony with the traditional formality to honor the winning nation of our sporting excellence here. Ladies and gentlemen, could we ask you please to rise in a moment for the national anthem of our winning rider, Henrik von Eckermann of Sweden.
الآن حضورنا الكريم فلنقف من فضلكم تحية للسلام الوطني للدولة صاحبة الصدارة والامتياز السويد.
Congratulations to all three of our podium finishers. We're going to invite the riders to rejoin their horses now, and it's a good opportunity for us to look over to them and recognize and congratulate not only our three amazing equestrian athletes, but also the grooms, and not just these three grooms, but all of the grooms who look after the horses at the top end of our sport and do Trojan work, working night and day to look after their close friends, these wonderful partners in sport.
الآن يعودون الأبطال الثلاثة إلى جيادهم. هنريك فان إيكرمان مع جلامور جيرل، سيمون دوليستر مع ديكستر فونتونيزيد، وغوفريد بوك مع إكويترن سيلفي لجولة النصر هنا على ميدان لونجين بالشغب بقيادة العالمي هنريك فان إيكرمان.
Well, across week 1 and 2, it has been the same names that have kept coming forward, including, of course, twice podium finisher Gerfried Puk now in Grand Prix action. Will that change when we go up to 5-star next week for week 3? But it looks like Henrik is in position and pretty much ready with Glamour Girl. Let's send them off, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put a cap on week 2 of Doha Tour with a richly deserved Grand Prix Lap of Honor.
فلنحتفل بأبطال الجائزة الكبرى. آخر أشواط ثانية جولات الدوحة الدولية للفروسية 2024. الصدارة، التميز والجائزة الكبرى للعالمي فان إيكرمان والسويد.
If you're still with us in the cafes, this is your moment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's really hear you. Your winner is the world number 1, Henrik von Eckermann, Glamour Girl. A great supporter of competition here in Doha, Simon de Lestre, Dexter Fontenisse in second, and last week's winner, Gerfried Puk, on the podium again with Equestrian Naxel for third place.
إذن في جولة النصر هنريك فان إيكرمان البطل العالمي وغلامور جيرل سيمون دوليستر وديكستر فونتونيزيد، وبطل الجائزة الكبرى في أولى جولات الدوحة الدولية للفروسية 2024 غوفريد بوك وإكويترن ناكسلفي.
One more time, your champion of Doha Tour, week 2, Henrik von Eckermann. Well, we replace the carpet and it is time to thank him for his participation in our ceremony. To Ahmed Abdulrahman Al Attiyah, President of the Asian Equestrian Federation, and our congratulations to Qatar Equestrian Federation and their supporters Qatar Olympic Committee on a very successful second week here.
نشكر السيد حمد بن عبد الرحمن العطية رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي للفروسية، هو من توج الأبطال، رفقه هو الشيخ أحمد بن نوح رئيس اللجنة العليا المنظمة. إذن حضورنا الكريم في هذه الأثناء يسدل الستار على ثاني جولات الدوحة الدولية 2024. لازلنا مع التنافس المهارة العالية بين الفرسان في ثالث جولات الدوحة إن شاء الله الأسبوع المقبل وصولا للشوط الفئة الخامسة. كونوا في الموعد، هنا خيط من خيوط كثيرة تربط أزمنة، إرث وأجيال لتشكل حكاية تروى وقصة تكتب. شكرا لكم ونسعد دائما بتواجدكم.
Henrik, congratulations, the 4-star Grand Prix victory this weekend. Just tell us about how the competition played out with Glamour Girl.
Yeah, I mean, she was fantastic yesterday. I was a little bit lucky in the first round, had here and there a little rub, but then she likes the jump offs. When it goes fast, she gets on it, and she's a very, very fast horse. So I know when I'm in the ring, if I do right, the time is possible.
You were mentioning earlier on, though, how Glamour Girl is almost the icing on the cake. The thing that's attracted you here is the opportunity to get an experience like this for some of your younger horses in the 2-star.
Absolutely. I have a very, very nice 8-year-old that's coming that I believe is my next really good horse. And to be able to hear and jump in this ring will be great, because then he can be here and then go home and have a bit of rest again and then start outside. So it's a perfect build-up for my young horse.
But talk about icing on the cake. Glamour Girl winning last night, winning tonight. What are your plans? What's your program then for 5-star week with us, week 3?
the Grand Prix next week. I will leave her out for the big class on the day before. I will just make a small class because she did 2 big classes now, and then just point for the Grand Prix.
Excellent. Well, the very best of luck with it. We can't wait to watch you all over again next week. It's great to have the world number 1 with us, Henrik.
Thank you very much.
اكتشف الإنسان أهمية التنقل للتقدم والتواصل والتلاقي، لنستكشف آفاقا جديدة وفرصا واعدة تزيد من رغد الحياة، ولأننا ندرك أهمية التنقل في جعل حياة الناس أكثر يسرا وأمانا.